incentive to any developer for redeveloping the Berardi property, because we could offer it to that developer as starting funding until he got his own financing in place, so that it would be made available to the developer at the start, with the understanding that it would be returned to the town when the shopping center was completely redeveloped, so that effectively we could get to use it twice as opposed to using it only one time, which seemed to make a lot of sense.
I was just a little while ago, the comment was made that, and I want to make sure it's clear, I wasn't sure exactly if the committee had discussed that, because when it was stated it was the committee that developed the redevelopment plan.
Well, you have to realize that the committee was, the membership wasn't fixed. We had different people attending at different times, but it was an idea. It was both possibilities, the possibility of using the money at first to drive the redevelopment of the old shopping center, and the possibility of buying individual properties to make them, to start bringing that package of properties together as a whole entity, where both ideas were discussed.
Okay, I was not aware of the second one, so that's why I thought you would know.
I don't know. I don't remember how extensively it was discussed, but both ideas were presented to the steering committee.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, I just want to add a little something on there too.
Sure.
With the incentive, and also I believe when we took utilized the sidewalk plan, Dave, you might can help me out there, when the county came in and said, okay, we can do the handicap sidewalk and that sort of thing, and I think we had discussed that it would be a great incentive for those businesses that they wouldn't have to pay for those sidewalks back then. Am I right about that? So that was added on as well with the incentives as well. But I just really would. These, as everyone must know, that these meetings are recorded. And so perhaps if they don't go online and they don't sign up, maybe they'll hear the recording and or get the minutes and see, wow, we have an opportunity to get back involved to make a difference in Pemberton Township. And I just thank you so very much for your comments.
Well, I'll be back at general public comments to finish up my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council.
Want to pull 103, 104, and 107, please?
Thank you. Are there any
Yes,
others?
I would like to pull the vouchers, page 4. Legal department. Stewart versus Pemberton Township. $5,277.47. Legal department, page 4 again. EMS litigation, $3,190.20. And I'm not sure how we're going to do this, Council President, but I have not had an opportunity to read, to really thoroughly digest this information that was coming over. I know you said we were going to take a little break, but I most certainly would like to have someone to, it's in the new business, discussion of the overtime reports for the police department. And, I know they say they sent this over whatever time they sent it over today.
That's for discussion, that's not part of the consent agenda.
Right, but I'm not sure how we're going to do that since we have this documentation in our hands, so we're just still going to discuss this, right?
If council would like to, I'm not sure.
I would, I would, because I had not had a...
And I'm not sure who all had the opportunity to actually read through it.
Well, I walked in with Councilwoman, and we walked in the same time, just about 10 minutes or so before the council meeting, and she was saying to me she had not had an opportunity
Understood.
to, so I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. And new business. Okay, I have a couple things, so thank you very much.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Skull, you requested to pull 103.
Well, I requested that for council president, and therefore I make a motion that we approve 103, 2015.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
I will abstain as it deals with my employer. Resolution number 104-2015. Ms. Skull?
Motion to approve 104, 2015.
Second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
I will also abstain because it deals with my employer. Resolution number 107-2015.
Motion to approve the assistance for a grant, and that also has to do with the DEP.
I'll second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes, but may I ask a question, please? Can we just, for the public's general information, kind of give them a short synopsis of this here, or do they have that?
I
Is
do
that out
have.
there?
Yeah, Ms. Skull read through it.
Okay.
This, I'll say it again, this is a grant that will expire in roughly 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it's, Pemberton Township is requesting grant writing assistance to prepare an application to the NJDEP to expand its existing municipal trails network by constructing a pedestrian bridge at the Dominique Johnson Center. Did I give my vote?
I didn't ask you for it yet.
Mrs. Stinney hasn't given her vote.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Abstain. Okay, council will now go into a 5-minute break and return after at 5 minutes. We are back. Other resolutions and public hearing on 2015 municipal budget and adoption of 2015 municipal budget. Resolution number 106-2015 authorizes the 2015 municipal budget to be read by title only. Is there a motion to adopt?
I make the motion to adopt the 2015 municipal budget to be read by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Stinney?
Yes, but I have a couple questions. When do I ask those questions, Dave?
Well, this is just a motion to
All right,
read
yeah.
it by title, but then
Got it.
after that,
I'm with you.
ask the question.
Thanks, hon.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Resolution number 76A-2015 adopts the 2015 municipal budget. I'm sorry, this is now open to public comment. Mr. Prickett.
Hi, this is Rick Prickett. I'm here as a resident of Pemberton Township. Now, I remember during the budget hearings, I think there were 2 or 3, the end of the budget hearing, we were talking about the debt, the big debt that Pemberton Township has. I'm not sure what it is. The mayor said it was 26.2 at the time. We talked about money to be borrowed for a park in town, $750,000. You know, I mean, there's a number of things that we talked about to add to the debt. We talked about the debt being reduced pretty much yearly through debt payments, or 2.69 or whatever it is million a year we spend in debt reduction. So it kind of concluded with, well, I think Mr. Gonzalez brought this up at the meeting, and I think Ms. Councilwoman Jackson agreed. This is just the first step. That $50,000 in the budget is just the first step to borrowing that money. You have to pass a bond ordinance, and then there'll be a hearing, and people will be able to put information, express their point of view on that. Well, my concern was expressed at the budget hearings, is that the police cars, I think we need 4 police cars, but I think we need to pay for those police cars, not use long-term debt to pay for those 4 police cars. That $100,000 that is a part of this debt that is in the which is in the budget. I think if you don't pay for those cars outright, you're going to burden the residents of this town paying those cars off, and they're not even going to be in existence anymore. And it's when you tie police cars to borrowing $1 million, I think that's really unfair. If I come out when you have your budget hearing to borrow this $1 million, and I say, no, I don't want to see you borrow the $1 million, you're going to say, well, you're against the police cars? And that's not how I feel. You're sweetening the borrowing pot by keeping those police cars tied to this debt. And I'm just very concerned. I've talked about the debt before and the debt ceiling. And some of you have kind of looked at me funny. I said something about $50 million that we could borrow as a township, and I believe it's around $54 million. And it's 3% of the value of the property in the township. And we're 52% of the way. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm open for corrections here. But we're 52% of borrowing the money in reaching the debt ceiling. And all that money that I'm talking about just isn't for the municipality. It's for the schools, it's for the MUA, it's for all the entities within the township to use that money. Well, fortunately, the schools, they don't borrow money. I mean, they don't borrow, they usually get it from the state. But they don't have any debt, which is great. It's a really wonderful thing for the residents of the town. But I'm just, what are you going to be comfortable with? 52%? I'm uncomfortable with that as a resident. Do you ever think about, in 20 years, where you'll be? Will you be in the council in 20 years? Some of us won't even be alive in 20 years, but the people in the township are still going to be paying that debt off. So, think about your legacy to the next generation of people, a next generation of young people in this town. And I've brought the comment about, paying the debt off. And I think Mr. Gonzalez said most of the debt is locked in, and you can't pay it off because you can't pay these notes back ahead of schedule. We talked about that today. Well, every year the township pays about $1 million off out of that I'll estimate $7 million, which is more than we spend on the whole Department of Public Works. Well, if we don't borrow another $1 million this year, then next year maybe the debt will be around $25 million. And if we don't borrow $1 million the following year, it might be down to $24 million. And every time you don't borrow, every time that debt comes down, your debt payments go down. And that's more money that's freed up that you can use to increase the police department budget, put into recreation, not to increase taxes. If you don't agree with me, express. Why don't you agree with that? So that's one way you can get the debt down, by not borrowing more. So I suggested at the budget hearings that you do two things. One, use part of the $600,000 in surplus that is in the budget right now for next year, I guess. Use $100,000 of that. Actually, use half of that to pay off the 4 new police cars. And instead of having $50,000 in the budget to borrow $1 million, cut that in half, and use $25,000 of that to pay the police cars off, and then take $75,000 from the surplus for next year. Pay those cars off now. Don't pay them off for 20 years. It's not fair to us. It's not fair to the residents. It's not fair to the future residents. And you need a plan to address our debt. Are you comfortable with being 52% of the way of reaching the debt ceiling in Pemberton Township? I hope not. I really hope not. I hope you're thinking about your legacy. I hope you're thinking about the people that are going to be living in Pemberton Township after we're gone. Thank you. I'm opposed to this. I think you need to not approve it tonight. I think you need to address my concerns for the benefit of the residents. Thank you.
I'm looking at the municipal debt by year slide that Dave presented at the mayor presented at the budget hearing, and it looks like in there was a trend of the debt going down. In 2012, the municipal debt was about $22 million. It did go up, but that was mainly because of the dams. The $6 million that we were taking out for the dams to get redone is now reflected in the a little over $26 million that the township currently has in debt. Ms. Quinn.
And Quinn, Country Lakes. In an effort to understand how the budget process works, if I'm not mistaken, there's something in the budget where monies can be set aside for a specific thing. And if I understand correctly, when we do snow removal or salt, there is a specific part in the budget that says that money can only be spent for salt removal or stuff like that.
Are you talking about the trust fund?
That may be what it is, yes.
Because I think Mr. Gonzalez was talking about us having a trust fund for that.
Okay,
And that money in the trust fund, if I'm correct, Dave, goes for salt and snow removal, correct? Salt and sand or whatever.
Yes, when we budget salt in the budget, we transfer that over into a trust account, and that locks it down for that purpose only.
Okay, that's what I just thought. But my continuation of the thing about the trust is, with respect to the police dogs, I would ask the council to highly consider developing a trust and putting that money in that trust, that it's be specifically spent on getting those dogs. Just like our police cars, the dogs are an important part of the police department. They're an important part of the officer. The dog is the extension of the officer's abilities on the job. So I would urge you guys can pass or you can approve or not this budget. I am asking, please, put a trust in place that that money is there and that those dogs are replaced. I would further ask, with respect to the police dogs, that while I don't understand how long the process may take, but we can't wait 6 months or so for these dogs. So please consider a trust for these police dogs, so the money is for the dogs. If it's in the budget, there shouldn't be a problem. There isn't a problem putting a trust in place for salt and sand. I can certainly understand that, but I don't see any reason why a trust can't be put in place for the dogs. Please, please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Petronas.
George Petronas, Browns Mills. I'd also like to address the question of the dogs, but from a different approach. As a part of the budget process. And to start with, and this is a budget question, and you'll see where I'm going when I'm done. How many police dogs do we have serving right now?
I believe one.
One.
Right. So, and we just retired one. So the standard complement of police dogs is normally 2. The budget asks the taxpayers to fund 2 police dogs in the coming year. Those taxes, if you adopt this budget, those taxes will be collected. We have a shortage of 1 police dog already, and yet apparently there has been no firm decision to actually use this money for the purpose that you're going to collect it from the taxpayers for. Is that correct?
George, if I might, I may be wrong about this, but I thought the money for the police dog could come from funds that have been confiscated from like drugs and that type of thing. Am I right about that, Dave, where it wouldn't really even be taxpayer dollars?
Pending approval by the county prosecutor, that I believe is an appropriate expenditure of that funding.
For the dog. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily feel that funding is an issue.
Well,
the police
okay,
dog.
I take your point. However, the budget, it's a budget item, and the budget is going to be largely funded by taxes.
Yes.
Under the circumstances, I think the dogs issue is only the, if you will, the camel's nose under the tent. It seems to indicate a lack of commitment to actually spending the money in the way that you're telling the taxpayers you're going to spend it. If this is, if the need for a police dog is now, because there's a shortage, if the money is in this budget and yet there's still no commitment to actually spending the money for a definable needed purpose, then how much more of this budget is a suggestion as opposed to a commitment? I think you're probably up against the wall. I'm opposed to the adoption of this budget, but considering the date, you probably have no option. However, I would strongly suggest that you consider a different budget preparation process for the coming year, including the possibility of requesting the administration to have the CFO come before you once per quarter and give you a report of what's been spent as opposed to what's been budgeted, so that you have a clearer picture at the time that you consider the next budget of how the money is actually being spent on an ongoing basis. And that's, like I say, I can't suggest that you not adopt this budget, because considering the date, I think you have to. But I would strongly suggest a more extensive budget review process for the future.
Hold on just 1 second, George. Thanks, Jason. In the budget, it has the 24 2014 budgeted, it was 7,000. And help me out here. Well, I don't know, Dave. Where are you, Dave? Right over here. Okay. Maybe you might be able to help me out here, though. Police K-9 program operational costs. And we paid out in 2014 $4,826.77. And the request for the 2015 budget for Police K-9 program operational costs, I don't know if that includes our doggies or what, but the request and the proposed was $7,000 as well. Jason, go. Help me out.
Help you out with what?
The K-9 program operational costs.
What are you asking me?
I'm asking you, this is money that is budgeted in our budget for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, George, it is. But I recall that there was a committee that was put together for the K-9 dogs as well when we first initiated the K-9s. And basically, what they did is they kind of came in and helped out with clothing, foods, a lot of stuff like that back there in the day when we all agreed that we would bring on the 2 K-9 dogs. The sad thing that I'm thinking about with the K-9 dogs is that when the police cars were presented to us, what types of cars we would need, it was basically said to us that the vehicles that we needed were to accommodate our K-9 dogs. So funding was put in or out of our tax dollars to accommodate that. So I don't know if that can help you out or what, but I'm sure that this cost right here will be able to help you out. Whether we get them or not, that's an administrative cost. And I think what Sherry was talking about, the money that we get from the drug, there's the I don't know if we can ask him, but our chief back there, I believe that does, like the mayor said, have to get approved through the county for you to use something like that. But we have budgeted funding here. So, Police K-9 program operational cost, $7,000.
Okay. There's definitely value to the drug confiscation program.
Yes.
Because it helps reduce the burden on the taxpayers.
Yes.
But again, addressing this not so much from the specific angle of the police dogs as from the angle that with a definite need, and apparently, I don't remember this process, but apparently you're saying that a lot of people were involved some years ago in determining clearly that 2 police dogs are a useful or maybe even a vital part of our police department.
Well, it was basically stated it was just about a vital part of our police department. We used to get, I believe, reports once a month. I'm sorry.
No, I was not to cut you off. You can finish and then I'll go.
Okay. Go okay. And the police dogs, what they did, how they saved lives, and all of those sorts of things. Folks that had dementia, I believe they found one on a gentleman on Lakehurst Road. But they are a vital part of our day-to-day operations for our police department. And I'm not speaking for our chief, but I just happen to know that they are. My husband served in Vietnam, and I continue to tell you that many of those dogs saved a lot of lives by stepping on mines before. So I'm sure these dogs that we have in here have gone into these drug-infested houses and have set the precedence for our police officers to do a fine job. I'm sure that they have.
Well, personally, I don't question the value of police dogs. I think they are a valuable component of a police department. But apparently, the decision to have police dogs in this town was reached by more than a couple of people. It was generally recognized that 2 police dogs would be a valuable part of our police department. So if we're missing 1 dog at present, that's a valuable component of the police department that isn't present right now. And it concerns me, and then you're saying, and this was something I didn't know, you're saying that a couple of the police vehicles that we're planning to buy might have actually been upsized so they could make room for a police dog as well as the police officer.
I think we did purchase them.
We bought them already.
Okay,
We did.
so-
We bought them.
The thing that concerns me is that this is a budget item which seems to be, where the expenditure seems to be immediate, and yet there's an indication that it hasn't been decided to spend the money. So that including that item in the budget seems to be more a suggestion than a request for filling a vital need. And that raises the question in my mind of how much of this entire budget is just a suggestion as opposed to a real plan of spending. And I think
George.
that should be explored a little bit
You
further.
were going to say
I'm
something,
sorry.
Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, when Ms. Stinney asked her question to me, I was actually in thought, and I was going to request, and this would help for your initial question also, I was going to ask Dave if he could get a report from Chief Jantis and possibly answer some of these questions. You know, how often the canines are used, how many arrests did the canines aid in, what are the benefits of having canines on the force? Do you think we would be able to get that from Chief?
Sure, we'll request an updated report.
That'd be great. That'd be a very useful report. Very,
George,
very instructive.
Your
Sorry.
comments are heard loud and clearly, and I can tell you that the budget, we go through extensively. Canines were something we campaigned on 8 years ago, that we wanted the canines back because they had disappeared because of financial situations back when they had to raise the taxes 20 cents a year or whatever it was. So we felt it was important to have the canines back. However, we're also told as council, we approved the budget, but we can't authorize the spending, only the mayor can authorize the spending. So we can have all the intentions of all council people sitting here that would say, we want the canine purchased. That decision is up to administration.
I understand this has been
I just wanted to make it clear to everybody.
this has been a subject of discussion for quite a while, is the limitations on what council can do. That's why I'm suggesting that perhaps you should consider more than an annual budget review, a quarterly budget review, so that if there is significant divergence from the budget plan to the actual spending, it might spark a constructive discussion between council and administration for redirecting the efforts.
It's a good idea, George.
With that, I'll end my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tompkins. And then Ms. Phillips.
Jack Tompkins, Pemberton Heights. Originally, I wasn't going to come up here and talk because like was mentioned earlier, we're so far down the road on this. If this isn't approved tonight, I'll be utterly amazed. But I thought I would get on record one more time, something that I brought up during the hearings earlier on in the process, is that I believe one line item in this budget is a $50,000 amount to possibly go after $1 million bond later on. And this bond would be for capital improvements. I believe dump trucks were mentioned, 2 police cars, and some other things. I oppose this. I think that this is a slick way to get around the 2% cap. Ms. Skull, correct me if I incorrectly quote you from what you just said, but once you approve this bond, if it goes through and the council approves a resolution to get the bond for $1 million, you don't have any control over that anymore. Administration spends that money how they feel fit. Isn't that what you just said?
Once once we approve the budget. But a bond would have to come before us again, and it would take 4 votes to approve a bond.
But after it's approved, administration would be able to spend that $1 million however they feel fit, correct?
Not really. If the bond is specific for items, I don't think that's true. Is that?
Yes, a
David?
bond has to be specific. It has to describe the items that you're purchasing, the life expectancy of that item, in order for that bond to be approved.
Capital improvements, I feel, like I said before, should be line items in the current budget. It shouldn't be something that's bonded. I think, like I said before, this is just one way of getting around the 2% cap. If you do go for $1 million bond, then I think it should be something in a special election. And me, the voter, or a citizen, should have more say in this instead of the way you folks are approaching that. And for that reason, I think you should turn this down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tompkins. Ms. Phillips?
Good evening, everybody in general.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm going to speak in reference to the K9. I got a question for the mayor. Can you tell me, Mr. Mayor, how much a K9 dog will cost?
There's a range. It depends on the type of dog you buy. It depends on the amount of training necessary for the dog. I cannot give you a number, no.
Yes, I understand that, because you got to train the police officer, the one is going to be the dog handler, and also the vehicle. We have available the vehicle, is correct or not? Because,
We have canine vehicles, yes.
okay, the only thing we need right now is the officer and the dog. And we approve a lot of things tonight, and I think the K9 is one of the main tools where an officer will need, and for the community to be safe. Because you don't supply them with their tools, they cannot perform their duties. And I encourage the council and you, Mr. Mayor, to take in consideration this. There is residents who live in this community. If we have that second K9, will be a big help for the community. I live in there and later I come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wadsworth?
Who sets up or approves or sets up or approves these trust accounts? Administration or council?
I believe it would be administration and the fiscal officer.
So council does not have the ability to set up a trust for these dogs?
Not to my knowledge. Attorney?
I'm not aware of any power that the council would have to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I can answer that. The trust accounts are set up by the Chief Financial Officer with the approval of the Division of Local Government Services. And I don't know if K9 account is an approved trust account. Trust accounts are limited as to what they can be, and they have to be approved by the Division of Local Government Services.
Okay, so the account for salt, since that's an approved trust, who makes a suggestion to the CFO that that become a trust account? Administration or council?
CFO.
So it's not suggested by administration?
As far as putting the money into the trust,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know if it comes to council or if the CFO just does it on his own. But generally, the CFO transfers the money into the trust account.
Are those transfers required to be approved by council?
I'll get back to you on
Thank you.
Yes, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
We've had them on agendas before.
Thank you.
Hi, Rick Prickett again, 181 Vincenttown Road. Yeah, a few years ago, I know I donated some money for Imagination Kingdom, for the maintenance of Imagination Kingdom. And the next council meeting, there was a resolution before the council to establish a rider or a trust fund for that money. And that's one of the trust funds or the riders that are listed. There's some 30. And you can find them online. There's approximately 30 of these trust funds that the township has. And I don't see any reason why, whether administration, I think administration recommended the salt, it might have come out of the mayor's mouth at the time years ago, we should be saving that money that we don't use for salt and sand for the next year. But I don't see any reason why council can't make that suggestion as well. I'm up here. My original question had to do with who you ask questions to. And I know Councilwoman Skull asked the mayor about bonding and how carefully those bonds can be written so the money is used for those purposes. And I think the person that really should have been asked that question is the solicitor, who has the law background and maybe some bond experience. I know we hire a bond attorney to do these bonds, but I was wondering if I could ask the solicitor on how specific a bond can be written to assure that that money is used for the stated purpose.
Mind answering that question?
I don't mind answering. I mean, to the extent I can, I'm happy to answer. I am not, my firm does bond work. I am not particularly a bond attorney, but my understanding is that bonds are normally for capital improvements, and normally within the bond document, it will describe the project that is being bonded. I'll use the word bonded. So it'll describe the project that's being bonded. It'll have a not-to-exceed amount of what the amount is going to be for that project, for the bond. And obviously, if the money is raised for that purpose, you can't do it for a dam construction and then take it and use it for road improvements or something. I mean, it is earmarked for that purpose. Now, if you don't use it all, or if you don't bond it all, I think there are ways to then decertify or whatever else. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but in general, bonds are done again for capital improvements, and typically it will have a description of what the project is and a description of the amount or not to exceed amount that is being bonded. And then I use the word bond where really there's actually two things. There's the short-term notes and then the long-term bonds, and depending on what you're borrowing and how long you're borrowing it for, there's different ways of doing it. But I sort of mix them all together, but there are those two things. But both of them have that same thing, the same issue. So typically there is a description anytime something like that occurs, and as Councilwoman Skull said, bonds need to be approved by a supermajority, not just by a quorum of who's here, but by a quorum, by a majority of full membership, and therefore, again, if there's less than full people here, I mean, it's not as if you could push a bond through. It needs to be majority of full membership.
Thank you very much. You just empowered your attorney to help you. You empowered yourselves instead of depending on the mayor to answer questions. And that's what the council is supposed to be. You're supposed to be a strong entity, a strong body of people. And what I just saw is you're relying on the mayor to get your answers, and this solicitor is the one with more knowledge, and actually talking to the bond attorney would be the next step. So
You're correct, only I wanted to hear what the mayor had to say.
Well, then maybe, I'm not going to say what you should have done, but
Thank you.
I think it's always important to get the information from the person that went to school to dispense that information. Thank you.
Good point.
Is there a motion to adopt the 2015 minutes?
Wait a minute, there's another hand.
There's a hand up.
Mr. Welch?
Oh, don't do that.
I'm a little confused listening to this. And my question to the chairman of the council is, it's my understanding that the administration puts a budget together with input from you guys. Is that accurate?
Not completely. Administration presents the budget to the council,
Okay.
and then we review it.
And you reviewed it, and the administration has made the comment in writing on a budget that there is $7,000 for the police canine. At that point, it seems to me that he would be saying, we have money in here for a dog. Because last year you spent $4,000, you had 2 dogs, 1 expired. And, to me, when you ask administration a question, was it your intent to purchase a dog in the budget, or are you hiding money? Ask the question.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Mr. Tam.
I'm confused. There's 5 people, they're the council. The council's in charge of the money. There's no question about it. And how it's spent. And it can't be spent any other way unless the council approves it. Because when you get those bills back, you have to approve payment of it. And if you didn't approve it that it be spent that way, you don't approve payment of it. And maybe the mayor will pay out of his pocket then. It's very simple. There's not a problem on spending. You just have to keep track of what's going on. And on bonding, as far as bonding goes, it's quite specific in bonding, the items are. Now, if the money's not spent for that item, it can't be spent unless it comes back to council to make an amendment to spend it. So there's really not a problem. It's up to the council to take the responsibility of keeping an eye on things. You could ask for all the financial reports you want, and they have to be given to you. They can't be withheld from you. You just have to put your foot down or go to the state. But that's the way it is. I mean, it sounds, you're sitting out here, it sounds as if you just don't know where you're going or where you're coming from when it comes to money. And that shouldn't be. You represent the taxpayers, all 5 of you, and you're responsible. And if the money's not spent properly by administration, then you make sure you catch it.
Thank you for your opinion, Mr. Tam. Is there a motion to adopt the 2015 municipal budget?
When do we get a chance to question anything?
Right now.
Ms. Stinney, do you have questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave, I have a question. Now, I'm a little confused now. This is our budget. Ours. All 5 of our budget. Can't we it only take 4 votes now, and I know it's take more than 3. Can't we find funding in here and earmark that money or say that that money is for canine dogs? Can we do that, Dave?
No. The mayor, I mean, the budget, and I've heard other comments about it as well, the budget gives line items for departments like police department or canine program or the rest. It's still up to the administration to then spend money within those line items. If for instance, let's say there's $50,000 in police line item and $50,000 in legal, and then it turns out police needs 60 and legal only needs 40. The mayor and the administration would come back and say to the council, we want to move money from one line item to another, and you guys would approve it. You approve the line items,
right.
You approve that, but then the spending within those line items are still an administrative function, not a council function. So, for instance, there's a police line item, but then the spending within that line item is administration. There is a canine program line item, but the spending within that line item is still a administrative function. And as you also know with bills, I mean, when bills happen and money actually once is going to be spent, it comes back to you, you approve that. So you've got a power in the front end about putting it in budget line items. You have a power in the back end about approving bills when bills are going to be incurred, but you don't have a power about saying this must be spent for this or that, other than the power that some people were saying before, which I don't frankly know whether it's a council power or not, about the fact that there's certain trust funds, and when things are in a trust fund, then those trust fund items have to be obviously spent for that purpose. Though even there, it's still an administration decision. Are we going to spend money out of the SALT trust fund, or can we get away with not doing it, and can we save it for next year and not spend it? The spending decision, subject to council approving bills and whatever, is still an administrative decision. But the council puts the money into the line items that then gives the administration the ability to spend out of those line items. So does that answer your question?
It does. I tried.
Okay.
It's actually the same question I just asked him.
Oh.
But I'm
Okay.
glad to share with everyone.
Okay, and we received something here on the first quarter overtime for the police. Unfortunately, this came again at 3:20. I was at work. I can't play around at work. I came out of retirement and went back to work, so I could enjoy work and enjoy the students and all that sort of thing. So I want to get fired because it is stipulated that you stay off of that computer. I'm only there 3 hours, but so I enjoy myself. This came at 3:20, and it has I have attached the chief's reports of the first quarter 2014-2015 for overtime costs. I didn't bring a calculator because I wasn't prepared. Like I wasn't prepared to answer this other page that they said that the state had authorized. So can somebody help me, maybe Dave or Council Jason, or it says here in the budget that police overtime budgeted for 2014 is $145, and paid and charged for 2014 was $230,727.83. For 2015, the requested amount for overtime is $145. Proposed is $145 too. And I'm sure everybody in this audience and all these residents here tonight done heard the rumor that we done spent about $150,000 in overtime thus far, and we're not even into April. So could you help me out, Jason or Dave? I'll pass you my paper down here because I didn't get a chance to read it, nor do I have a calculator. I'd like to know, do we have enough money appropriated for overtime from January, February's overtime, March's overtime, and we're not even into April. So I'm going to pass this
Well,
down.
if I read this correctly, we've spent $110,926.71 already in overtime for 3 months. Am I correct?
I don't know. I'm asking the question myself.
Dave, would you be
I don't
able
have a
to,
calculator.
Dave, would you be able to elaborate a little bit on the overtime?
I take it you're referring to the 2 pages that were copied for you out of the Chief of Police's
Yes.
overtime report? That is accurate. That is the number that was presented to us as to the amount of overtime that was expended so far this year.
So it sounds like we'll probably be needing some more money for overtime.
That's what it sounds
we
like.
believe the budget will be able to sustain the pattern in which the overtime is traveling at this point. What some of the things that you're not taking into consideration are you're looking at this report, this 2-page report that presented from the chief's extensive report, and it lists a number of officers that are out. Well, some of those officers that are out are their salaries are being reimbursed to us at 70% from the JIF for their injuries, and we believe that what we have in the bottom line number of the police budget will sustain the police department for the year 2015.
So we're 35,000 away, and we're half, not even, we're a third of the year. What concerned me is when I'm looking at manpower shortage hours of 587 this year, last year it was 57. So I certainly hope that the mayor is correct and we're not going to go over that amount, but last year we went over it by $85,000. So I think you might be right, Ms. Denny, we probably will have to be transferring some funds around to cover that.
Well, I certainly want our police officers paid for the work that they do.
And we want them covered. We want the town covered.
Right, and I notice, the summertime's coming up and vacation and all those sorts of things, and I'm just going to mention this, sir. I don't mean to knock the Board of Education, but there was an incident a couple months ago where police was called because a young lady had gotten on the bus to attack a child who had attacked her child, and she called 911, and it took over half an hour for patrolmen to get there. I'm not knocking our police officers. I'm just telling you what happened. I guess, I don't know, it's the manpower or what. And so what happened was the police didn't arrive, and two things happened. The kids were late to school, and the lady was still out there causing the ruckus. Eventually, they did come after the half an hour, so I don't know how they arranged that, what comes first, what call comes first, or whatever. But my concern, I just want to make sure that we have the coverage, we have the money to pay the overtime, squelch some of these rumors that are saying that we're not going to have money at all, where we're going to need to take money from. Please don't take them from my dogs. But anyway, that's a little joke. Everybody, come on, cheer up a little bit. And so anyway, that's my concern, and this is why I'm addressing this overtime budget there.
I have a question. Can I?
Sure.
The names that are on the side in the comments, I noticed it's like 12 of them, but 3 of them should be coming back, correct? They were on some kind of leave or something. Do you guys see what I'm talking about?
Where are you?
Yes.
Where are you?
So there's
Or 2015 sworn
2015,
officers.
correct. I don't know if I can say the names or not.
No, all 4 of them should be back by now.
Well, no, the last one is the 27th.
Well, it's March.
Right, I'm sorry, right. So our 4 of them are back. Here. So we have those 4 back on 4th, right? And then there's 2 on at the top that says Academy. Is that, I know they're done the Academy.
They're training, so they're not
by themselves yet.
official officers yet, I guess.
I'm just bringing it up because we were saying that we were down, but 4 of those in that comment number, do you guys see what I'm saying?
We'll be
There's 12,
And
so
3
we
are
have
workers' comp.
3 are workman's comp, 2
Or 4.
Academy. We have 1 that says military.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, understood. And overtime is something that we obviously can plan for, but you're not going to know the actual amount in advance.
Nope.
Ms. Stinney, did you have any other
No.
comments?
No, that's all I asked, to go back and get my book and address to address this here, and hopefully we can set aside and get our dogs.
Okay, so is there a motion to adopt the 2015 municipal budget?
I move we adopt the 2015 municipal budget.
Second.
Amy, can you please poll the council?
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 8-2015. An ordinance of the Township of Pemberton authorizing the purchase of properties located at 50 Juliustown Road and 31 Bank Street in the township from Henry and Ann Byerly. Is there a motion?
Can I just say something on this? I don't see a real rush, but there was a lot of questions on ordinance 8 and also 9. Can we maybe hold off to our next meeting till we can get some of those?
This is an introduction, so it would be open